The complete work of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 6, Section 1. Worship, Worshipper and Worshipper. Why is there evil? The only way you can solve the problem is by saying that God is the cause of both good and evil. The great difficulty in the theory of the personal God is that if you say He is only good and not evil, you will be caught in the trap of your own argument. How do you know there is a God? You say that He is the Father of the universe, and you say He is good, and because there is also evil in the world, God must be evil. The same difficulty. There is no good, and there is no evil. God is all there is. How do you know what is good? You feel it. How do you know what is evil? If evil comes, you feel it. We know good and evil by our feelings. There is not one man who feels only good or happiness feeling or happy feelings. There is not one who feels only unhappy feelings. Wants and anxiety are the causes of all unhappiness and happiness too. Is want increasing or decreasing? Is life becoming simple or complex? Certainly complex. Want are being multiplied. Your great grandfathers did not want the same dress or the same amount of money you do. They had no electric cars, nor railroads, etc. That is why they had to work less. As soon as these things come, the wants arises and you have to work harder. More and more anxiety and more competitions. It is very hard work to get money. It is harder work to keep it. You fight the whole world to get a little money together and fight all your life to protect it. Therefore, there is more anxiety for rich than for the poor. This is the way it is. There are good and evil everywhere in this world. Sometimes evil becomes good. True. But other times good becomes evil also. All our senses produce evil sometime or other. Let a man drink wine, and it is not bad at first, but let him go on drinking, and it will produce evil. A man is born of rich parents, good enough. He becomes a fool, never exercises his body or brain. That is good producing evil. That is good producing evil. Think of this love of his life. We go away and jump about and live a moment. We work hard. We are born babies, entirely incapable. It takes us years to understand things again. At 60 or 70, we open our eyes, and then comes the world. Get out, and there you go. We have seen that good and evil are relative terms. The things that is good for me is bad for you. If you eat the dinner that I eat, you will give or you will begin to weep, and I shall laugh. And we may both dance, but I will joy and you will pain. The same thing is good at one part of our life and bad at another part. How can you say that good and evil are all cut and dry? That this is all good and that is all evil? Now, you now know that you who is responsible. Know that who is responsible for all these good and evil. If God is ever the good, the Christians and the Mohammedans say there is a gentleman called a Shaitan. How can you say there are two gentlemen working? There must be one. The fire that burns the child also cooks the meal. How can you call the fire good or the bad? And how can you say it was created by two different persons? Who creates all so called evil? God. There is no other way out. He sends death and life, plagues and epidemics and everything. If such is God, He is good. He is evil. He is the evil, He is the beautiful, He is the terrible, He is life, He is death. How can such a God be worshipped? We shall come to understand how the soul can really learn to worship the terrible. Then that soul will have peace. Have you peace? Do you get rid of anxieties? Turn you around. Turn around. First of all, and face the terrible. Tears aside the mask and find the same God. He is the personal, all that is apparently good and all that is apparently bad. There is none else. If there were two gods, nature could not stand a moment. There is not another one in nature. It is all harmony. If good played, if good, if God played good on one side and devil on the other, the whole of the nature would be chaos. Who can break the laws? I can break the glass. It will fall down. If anyone succeed in throwing one atom out of the place, every other atom will go out of the place. The law can never be broken. Each atom is kept in its place. Each is weighed and measured and kept in its place and fulfills its purpose and place. Through this command, the wind blows, the sun shines. Through his rule, the worlds are kept in place. Through his orders, death is sporting upon the earth. Just think of two or three gods having the wrestling match in this world. It cannot be. We now come to see that we can have the personal God, the creator of this universe, who is merciful and cruel also. He is good as well as he is evil. He smiles as well as he frowns, and none can do or go beyond his law. He is the creator of this universe. What is meant by creation? Something coming out of nothing. 6,000 years ago, God woke up from his dream and created the world. And before that, there was nothing. What was God doing then? Taking a good nap? God is the cause of the universe, and we can know the cause through the effect. If the effect is not present, if the effect is not present, the cause is not the cause. The cause is always known in and through the effect. Creation is infinite. You cannot think of the beginning in time or in space. Why does it? Why does he creates it? Because he likes to, because he is free. And you and I are bound by law because we can work only in certain ways and not in others. Without hands, we can grasp everything. Without feet, we move. He moves fast. Without body, he is omnipotent, whom no eyes can see, but whom it's the cause of sight in every eye. Know him to be the Lord. You cannot worship anything else. God is omnipotent, supporter of the universe. What is called law is the manifestation of his will. He rules the universe by his laws. So far, we have discussed God and man, eternal good, eternal God, and eternal nature. What about souls? They also are eternal. No soul was ever created, neither can the soul die. Anybody or nobody can even imagine his own death. The soul is infinite and eternal. How can it die? It changes bodies. As a man takes off his old, worn out garment and puts on the new, fresh one, even so the worn out body is thrown away and a fresh body is taken. What is the nature of the soul? The soul is also omnipotent and omnipresent. Spirit has neither length, nor breadth, nor thickness. How can it be said to be here and there? This body falls. The soul walks through another body. The soul is the circle of which the circumstances is nowhere, but the center is in the body. God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere, but the whose center is everywhere. The soul, by its very nature, is blessed, pure, and perfect. It could never be pure if its nature was impure. The soul's nature is purity. That is why the soul can become pure. It is blessed by nature. That is why it can become blessed. It is peace. That is why it can become peaceful. All of us who all of us who find ourselves in this plane attracted to the body work hard for livings with jealousies and quarrels and hardships and then death. That shows we are not what we should be. We are not free, perfectly pure, or and so on. The soul, has it were, has become regarded, then the soul, has it were, has become regarded, then what the soul requires is expansion. How can you do it? Can you work it out yourself? No. If a man's face is dusty, you can wash it out with dust. If I put a seed in the ground, the seed produces a tree, the tree produces a seed, the seed another tree, etc. And the egg and the hen. If you do something good, you will have to reap the result of that. Be born again and be sorry. Once started in this infinite chain, you cannot stop. You go on up and down to heavens and earths and all these bodies. There is no way out. Then how can you get out of all this? And what are you here for? One idea is to get rid of misery. We are all struggling day and night to get rid of misery. We cannot do it by work. Work will produce more work. It is only possible if there is someone who is free himself and lends us a hand. Hear you children of immortality, all those that resides in this plane and all those that resides in the heaven above, I have found a secret, says the sage. I have found him who is beyond all darkness. Through his mercy alone we cross this ocean of life. In India, the idea of the goal is this: there are heaven, there are hell, there are earths, but they are not permanent. If I am sent to hell, it is not permanent. The same struggle goes on wherever I am. How to get beyond all these struggles is the problem. If I go to heaven, perhaps there will be a little bit of rest. If I get punished for my misdeeds, that cannot last forever either. The Indian ideal is not to go to heaven, get out of this earth, get out of the hell, and get out of the heaven. What is the goal? It is freedom. You must all be free. The glory of the soul is covered up, it has to be uncovered again. The soul exists. It is everywhere. Where shall it go? Where can it go? It can only go where it is not. If you understand that it is ever present or everywhere present, there will be a perfect happiness for every afterwards. No more births and deaths. No more disease, no bodies. The body itself is the biggest disease. The soul shall stand, has soul. Spirit shall live, has spirit. How is this to be done? By worshipping the Lord in the soul, who by his very nature is ever present, pure, and perfect. There cannot be two almighty beings in this world. Imagine having two to three gods. One will create the world, another says, I will destroy the world. It can never happen. There must be one God. The soul attains to perfection. It becomes almost omnipotent and omniscient. This is the worshipper. Who is the worshipper? He, the Lord God Himself, the omnipresent, the omniscient, and so on. And above all, He is love. How is the soul to attain this perfection? By worship. How is the soul to attain this perfection? By worship. Next, formal worship. Lecture delivered in San Francisco era, April 10, 1900. All of you who are students of the Bible understand that the whole of the Jewish history and Jewish thought have been produced by two types of the teachers, priest and prophet. The priest represent the power of conversation, whereas the prophet the power of progress. The whole thing is that a conversative rituality creeps in. Formality gets hold of everything. This is the true of every country and every religion. Then come some new shares with new visions. They preach new ideas, and the ideas give I and the ideas and and the ideas and give a new push to the society. In a few generations, the followers become so faithful to their master's idea that they cannot see anything else. The most advanced liberal preachers of this age within the few years will be the most conservative priests. The advanced thinkers, in their return, will begin to hinder the man who goes a little further. They will not let anyone go far, further than what they themselves have attained. They are content to leave things as they are. The power which works through the formality or formative principles of every religion in every country is manifested in the form of religion. Principles and books, certain rules and movements, standing up, sitting down, and all this belongs to the same category of worship. Spiritual worship becomes materialized in order to that the majority of the mankind can get hold of it. The vast majority of mankind in every country are never seen to worship spirit as a spirit. It is not yet possible. I do not know if there ever will be a time when they can. How many thousand in this city are ready to worship God as spirit? Very few. They cannot they live in the senses. You have to give them cut and dried ideas. Tell them to go do something physical. Stand up 20 times, sit down 20 times. They will understand that. They will understand that. Tell them to breathe in through one nostril and breathe out through the other. They will understand that. All this all this idealism about spirits they cannot accept at all. It is not their fault. If you have the power to worship God as spirit, good. But there was a time when you could not. If the people are crude, the religious conceptions are crude, and the forms are uncount and gross. If the people are refined and cultured, the forms are more beautiful. There must be a form, only the forms change according to the time. It is curious phenomena that there never was a religion started in this world with more antagonism to the worship of forms than Mohammedanism. The Mohammedans can have neither painting nor sculptures nor music that would lead to formalism. The priest never faces his audience. If he did, that would make a distinct. This way there is none, and yet it was not 2 centuries after the prophet's death before saint worship developed. Here is the toe of the saint, there is the skin of the saint. So it does. Formal worship is one of the stage we have to pass through. Therefore, instead of crusading against it, let us take the best in worship and study its underlying principles. Of course, the lowest form of worship is what is known as tree or stone worship. Every crude, uncultured man will take up anything and add to it some idea of his own, and that will help him. He may worship a bit of bone or a stone, anything. In all this crude state of worship, man has never worshipped a stone as stone, a tree as tree. You know that from common senses. Scholars sometimes say that man worships stone and trees. That is all nonsense. Tree worship is the only stage the tree worship is one of the stages through which the human race passed. Never really was there ever worship of anything by the spirit by man. He is spirit and can feel nothing but spirit. Divine mind could never make such a gross mistake as to worship spirit as matter. In this way, man conceived the stone as spirit or the tree as spirit. He imagined that some part of that being resided or resides in the stone of or the tree. That the stone or the tree has a soul. Tree worship and serpent worship. Tree worship and serpent worship always go together. There is the tree of knowledge. There must always be a tree, and the tree is somehow connected with the serpent. These are the oldest forms of the worship. Even there, you find that some particular tree or some particular stone is worshipped. Not all the trees or the stones in the world. The highest state in the informal worship is that of images for of ancestors and god. People make images of men who had died or who have died and imaginary images of god. Then they worship those images. Still higher is the worship of saints, of a good man and a woman you have passed on. Men worships they are elect. They feel that the presence of the saint in somehow in the relics and that they will help them. They believe that if they touch the saint's bone, they will be healed. Not that the bone itself heals, but that the saint who resides there does. These are all low states of worship, and at worship, we all have to pass through them. It is only from an intellectual standpoint that they are not good enough. In our hearts, we cannot get rid of them. Take them, if you take from a man all the saints and images and do not allow them to go into a temple, he will still imagine all the gods. He has to. A man of 80 told me he could not conceive God except as an old man with a long beard sitting on the clouds. What does that shows? His education is not complete. There has not been any spiritual education and he is unable to conceive anything except in a human form. There is still a higher order of formal worship, the world of symbolism. The forms are still there, but they are neither trees, nor stones, nor images, nor relics of saints. They are symbols. There are all sorts of symbols all over the world. The circle is the great symbol of eternity. There is a square, the well known symbol of the cross. There are two figures like S and Z crossing each other. Some people take some people take it into their head to see nothing in symbols. Others want all sort of abracadabra. If you tell them plain, simple truth, they will not accept them. Human nature being what it is, unless they understand the better, the greater men they think you are. In all ages, in every country, such worshippers are deluded by certain diagram and forms. Geometry was the greatest science of all the time. The vast majority of people knew nothing of it. They believed that if the geometrist just drew a square and called abracadabra four corners, the whole world would begin to turn. The heaven would open, the god would come down and jump about and be a slave. There is the whole mass of lunatic today poring over poring over these things poring over these things day and night. All this is a sort of disease. It is not for the metaphysicians at all. It is for the physicians. I am making fun, but I am so sorry. I see this problem so grave in India. These are signs of decay of the race and degradation and disease. The sign of vigor, the sign of life, the sign of hope and sign of health, the sign of everything that is good is strength. As long as the body lives, there must be strength in the body, strength in the mind, and the strength in the hand. It in wanting to get spiritual power through all these abracadabras, there is fear of life. I do not mean that sort of symbolism, but there is some truth in the symbolism. There cannot be any falsehood without some truth behind. There cannot be any imitation without something real. There is the symbolic form of worship in the different religion. There are fresh, vigorous and poetic healthy symbols. Think of think of marvelous powers of symbols of the cross that has had upon millions of people. Think of the symbol of the crescent. Think of the magnetism of this one symbol. Everywhere there are good and great symbols in the world. They interpret the spirit and bring about certain conditions of the mind. As a rule, we find they create a tremendous power of faith and love. Compare the Protestants with the Catholic Church, who has produced more saints, more martyrs within the last 400 years, during which both have been in existence. The tremendous appeal of a Catholic ceremonialism, all this light, incense, candles, and the robes of the priest, has a perfect effect in its prostate. Protestantism is a quite austere and unpoetic. The Protestants have gained many things, have granted a great deal more freedom in certain lines than the Catholic have, and so have a clear, more individualized conception. That is all right, but they have lost a good deal. Take a painting of the church. That is an attempt at poetry. If we are hungry for poetry, why not have it? Why not get the soul what it wants? We have to give him music. Presbyterian were even against the music. They are the Mohammedans of the Christians. Down with all poetry, down with all ceremonials. Then they produce music to apply to the senses. I have seen how collectively they strive for the rays of light there over the pulpit. Let the souls have it feel of poetry and religion represented on the external plane. Why not? You cannot fight formal worship. It will conquer again and again. If you do not like what the Catholics do better. But we will never do anything better nor have the poetry that already exists. That is the terrible state of things. Poetry is the absolute necessary. You may be the greatest philosophers in the world, but philosophy is the highest poetry. It is not dry bones. It is essence of things. The reality itself is more poetic than any dualism. Learning has no place in religion. For the majority, learning is a block in the way. Men may have read all the libraries in the world, and many not be religious at all, and another who cannot perhaps write how his own name, write how his own name, senses religion and realizes it. The whole religion is our own inner perception. When I use the words man making religion, I do not mean books, nor dogmas, nor theories. I mean the man who has realized, has fully perceived something of that, something of that infinite presence in his own heart. The man at whose feet I sat all my life, and it is only a few ideas of his that try to teach could hardly write his own name at all. All my life I have not seen another man like that, and I have traveled all over the world. When I think of that man, I feel like a fool because I wanted to read books and he never did. He never wanted to lick the plates after other people have eaten. That is why he was his own book. All my life all my life I am repeating what Jack said and John said and never say anything myself. My glory, what glory is it that you know what John said 25 times or 25 years ago and what Jack said 5 years ago? Tell me what you have to say, mind you. There is no value in learning. You are all mistaken in learning. The only value of knowledge is in the strengthening, the disciplining of the mind. By all this eternal swallowing, it is wonder that we are not all dyspeptic. Let us stop and burn all the books and get hold of ourselves and think. You all talk about and get distracted over losing your individuality. You are losing it every moment you of your life by this eternal swallowing. If any one of you believe that I teach, I will be sorry. I will only be too glad if I am excite in you the power of thinking for yourself. My ambition my ambition is to talk to men and women, not to ship. By men and women, I mean individuals. You are only little babies to drag all the filthy rags from the street and bind them up into a doll. This is a place for learning. That man is placed in the university. You know, or he knows, all about what Mr. Blank said, but Mr. Blank said nothing. If I had the choice, if I had the choice, I would say to the professor, get out, you are nobody. Remember, this individual at any cost. Think wrong if you will, no matter whether you get true or wrong, truth or wrong. The whole point is to discipline your mind. That truth which you swallow from others will not be yours. You cannot teach truth from the mouth, neither can you learn truth from my mouth, nor each none can teach another. You have to realize truth and work it out for yourself according to your own nature. All must struggle to be individuals, strong, standing on your own feet, thinking your own thoughts, realizing your own self. No use swallowing doctrines and others pass on, standing up together like soldiers in the jail, sitting down together, eating the same food, all nodding their heads at the same time. Variations is the sign of life, sameness is the sign of death. Once I was born in an Indian city, and an old man came to me. He said, Swami, teach me the way. I saw that man was as dead as the table before me. Mentally and spiritually, he was really dead. I said, will you do what I ask you to do? Can you steal? Can you drink wine? Can you eat meat? The man exclaimed, what are you teaching? I said to him, did this wall ever steal? Did the wall ever drink wine? No, sir. Man steals, and he also drinks and becomes God. I know you are not the wall, my friend. Do something. Do something. I saw that if that man stole, his soul would be on the way of salvation. How do I know that you are an individual, all saying the same thing, all standing up, sitting down together? That is the road of to that. Do something for your souls. Do wrong if you please, but do something. You will understand me by and by if you do not just know. Old age has come upon the soul. Old age has come upon the soul, as it were. It has become rusty. The rust must be rubbed off, and then we go on. Now you understand why there is evil in the world. Go home and think of that, just to take off that rustiness. We pray for material things, to attain some, and we worship God with shopkeeping worship. Go on, pray for food and clothes. Worship is good. Something is always better than nothing. A blind man or a blind uncle is better than no uncle at all. A very rich young man becomes ill, and then to get rid of his disease, he begins to give to the poor. That is good, but it is not religion at all, not spiritual religion. It is all on the material plane. What is the material and what is not? When the world is the end and the God the means to attain that end, that is material. What what is material and what is not? When the world is the end and God the means to attain that end, that is material. When God is the end and the world is the only means to attain that end, spirituality has begun. Thus, to the man who wants this material life enough, all his heavens are a continuous of his life. He wants to see all people who are dead and have good life once and more. There was one of those ladies who bring the departed spirits down to us, a medium. She was very large. She was very large, yet she was medium. Very good. This lady and liked me very much and invited me to come. The spirits were all very polite to me. I had a very peculiar experience. You understand, to you understand, it was since midday or midnight. The medium said, I see a ghost standing here. The ghost tells me that who there is a Hindu gentleman on that bench. I stood up and said, it required no ghost you that to get to tell you that there was a young man present who was married, intelligent, and well educated. He was there to see his mother. The medium said, so and so, mother is here. This young man had been telling me about his mother. She was very thin when she died, but the mother that came out of the screen but that but the mother that came out of the screen, you ought to have seen her. I wanted to see what this young man would do. To my surprise, he jumped up and embraced his spirit and said, oh mother, how beautiful you have grown in the spirit land. I said, I am blessed that I am here. It gives me insight into my human nature. Going back to our formal worship, it is a low state of worship when you worship God as a means to the end, which is the which is the life which is this life and this world. The vast majority of people have never had any conception of anything higher than this lump of flesh and the joys of the senses. Even in this life, all the pleasures this poor soul have are the same as the beast. They eat animals, they love their children. Is that all the glory of man? And we worship God Almighty. What for? Just to give us these material things and defend them all the time. The means we have not be go- mm, the means we have not gone beyond the animals and the birds. We are no better. We do not know any better. What who unto us? We should know better. The only difference is that they do not have a God like us. We have the same five senses as the animals, only they are better. We cannot eat a morsel of food with the relish that a dog chews a bone. They have more pleasure in life than we, so we are less than animal. Why should you want to be something that any powerful in nature can operate better? This is the most important question for you to think about. What do you want? This life, this senses, this body, or something infinitely higher and better, something from which there is no more fall, no more change. So, what does it mean? You say, Lord, give me my bread, my money, heal my disease, do this and do that. Everything you say that, you are hypnotizing yourself with the idea, I am material and this material is the goal. Every time you try to fulfill the material desire, you tell yourself that you are the body, that you are not spirit. Thank God there is a dream, or this is a dream. Thank God, for it will vanish. Thank God there is death, glorious death, because it ends all these delusions, these dreams, this fleshiness, this anguish. No dream can be eternal. It must end sooner or later. There is none who can keep his dream forever. I think God, I think, I thank God that it is so. At this form of worship is all right. Go on. To pray for something is better than nothing. These are the stages through which we pass. These are the first lessons. Gradually, the mind begins to think of something higher than the senses, body, and the enjoyment of this world. How does man do it? First, he becomes a thinker. When you think upon a problem, there is no sense enjoyment there, but the exquisite delight of thought. It is that makes the man take up take one great idea. It depends. It depends. Concentration comes. You no longer feel your body. Your senses have stopped. You are about you are above all physical senses. All that was manifesting itself through the senses is concentrated upon the one idea. That moment you are the higher than the animal. You have or you get the revelation, and you get the revelation none can take from you, a direct perception of something higher than the body. There is the gold of mind. There is the gold of mind, not upon the planes of the senses. Thus, walking through the planes of senses, you get more and more entry into the other religions, and then will world fall away from you. You get one glimpse of that spirit, and then your senses and your sense enjoyment, your clinging of the flesh will all melt away from you. Glimpse after glimpse will come from the realms of the spirit. You will have finished yoga, and spirit will stand revealed revealed as spirit. Then you will begin the worship of God as spirit. Then you will begin to understand that worship is not to gain something. At heart, our worship was the infinite to finite, or infinite to finite element. Love, which is the eternal sacrifice at the feet of Lord by soul. Thou and not I. I am dead. Thou art, and I am not. I do not want wealth, nor beauty, nor even learning. I do not want salvation. If it be thy will, let me go into 20 million hells. I only want one thing. Be thou my life, or be thou my love. Vedanta and the West, November to December 1955.